The Chevrolet Vega, produced from 1971 to 1977 by General Motors, had so much promise. And, well, let's be honest, the looks of the vehicle were quite good. It looked like a mini Camaro in many ways, and it was an attractive little car. Unfortunately, while the car was attractive in the looks department, some of its overall mechanical reliability was not all that great. And on top of the mechanical reliability, the Vega certainly had some rusting issues. It was not well rust-proofed and didn't even have inner fender liners in some years. So that led to the fenders rusting out and, well, let's just say a number of issues. We've talked previously on this program about the Vega's 140 cubic inch 2.3-liter four-cylinder engine, the aluminum block, iron head, overhead cam affair that had a number of issues, in part due to the fact that it did not use cast iron cylinder liners, and the pistons rode up and down in the aluminum block. And while this was okay in some cases, if the engine ever overheated, well, it just created a significant challenge for Vega owners, and the car would become an oil burner from any point thereafter. But what we're going to talk about right now is one of the, let's just say, less than stellar innovations that came on a Chevrolet Vega that I have to imagine irked a decent fraction of the buying public for the vehicle. And that was the air cleaner assembly. Now, what do I mean by this? Air cleaners, geez, this is a pretty uneventful part on a car. And if you have to replace the air cleaner, which you generally did every 15 to 20,000 miles, and it really depended upon what kind of a climate you were driving the car in, you just simply took off what was usually a single wing nut on an American car, took off the air cleaner lid, and then removed the paper element filter, replacing it, and then replacing the air cleaner top, and then the wing nut. And the cool thing about these carbureted vehicles that had the metal air cleaners, which was generally employed as a flame arrestor in the event of a backfire. You didn't want to have a plastic air cleaner if the car was going to backfire. You could flip the lid upside down and get some more breathability into the air cleaner under wide open throttle and get a few extra horsepower. Well, not so with the Vega. And that entire procedure that I just diagrammed was something that you couldn't do on the Vega. And why is that? That's because the Vega had an air cleaner that didn't have a replaceable filter element inside of it. Yes, I said that right. Let's take a look at this picture of one of these air cleaners for the Chevrolet Vega. The fact was that Chevrolet sold the Vega without a replaceable element air cleaner. Now, what's clear as you take a look at this shiny AC Delco air filter for a Chevrolet Vega is that it's clear that it was manufactured in two pieces. There is a top and there is a bottom to this, but it looks like, and I can't quite tell, that they've crimped the top to the base so that you can't separate them, and there's no typical wing nut that would secure the top to the bottom. In fact, there is a wing nut on the car, but that wing nut just secures the entire air cleaner assembly to the carburetor. So an interesting setup, and one that I can imagine would frustrate Vega owners. So you just buy this car, and then you're taking it in for an appropriate service, and you already potentially have some engine issues, and now the dealer recommends you change the air filter because the mileage interval has passed, and the amount that you have to pay for that is higher than a normal air filter because you have to replace the entire housing. It was kind of a sneaky way to get more money out of a customer over time. And in comparison, if you think about other subcompact cars of the era like the Gremlin or the Pinto, they just had the standard, simple, replaceable paper element air filter. So the buyers of those vehicles weren't all that disenchanted. And if you got either the Pinto or the Gremlin, you generally got a pretty reliable engine underhood too. They weren't necessarily all that powerful. And if I had to pick one of the subcompacts from the era, I actually would have picked the Gremlin, I think, because you could get a good, very reliable, durable AMC six-cylinder underhood. You could actually even get the 304 cubic inch V8 in some years. But the six-cylinder would have delivered decent fuel economy, and it would have been backed by the Chrysler TorqueFlite transmission in many years, just an overall bulletproof transmission that would have given great years of service and complete reliability. So the Gremlin would have been my subcompact pick. Of course, it also looked quite handsome, let's say. Well, or not. At least if you got the Vega, you got the looks, but the underlying mechanicals were something that was challenging. The engine wasn't necessarily great. The transmission, well, it was okay. It wasn't necessarily that great either. And then you have all the other little bits and pieces and character flaws like the in-tank fuel pump. If that went out, that was not as easy to service as just a regular mechanical fuel pump with 2 bolts on it. Then you've got the air cleaner, which you had to service as an entire unit as opposed to just replacing the paper element filter. And you've got the overhead cam belt. And just in general, there was a lot of different things associated with the Vega that I think likely would have irked customers. And if you bought the Gremlin, you had a very conventional suspension, drivetrain, etc., that likely would have delighted customers. The gas mileage wouldn't have been as great as the Vega, but I have to say I had a 78 AMC Concorde with the 258 cubic inch 6-cylinder and 2-barrel carburetor, and on the freeway I used to get 22, 23 miles per gallon, which I didn't think was all that bad, and I have to imagine that the Vega was maybe getting on the freeway 25, 26, something like that, because the engine just wasn't all that powerful, and you really had to keep your foot in it in order to keep up to speed with traffic, just given the rather lackluster horsepower ratings. So there you have it, an interesting quirk about the Vega that likely irked many people, this non-replaceable element air cleaner. And of course, you can imagine that in the aftermarket, there was an aftermarket that sprang up centered on this part, and a number of companies created air cleaner housings where you could replace the paper element filter. But if you wanted something that was AC Delco and was stock from the factory, you had to go with buying the entire air cleaner assembly from General Motors and replacing it as a single unit. Does anybody remember having to do this on their Vega and what their, solution was? Did you use an aftermarket filter, or did you go with the AC Delco unit and pay the extra to replace the entire filter housing? Put a comment in the comments section and let me know how you would have handled this back in the day when you owned a Vega. And now I'll close out with a bit of obscure trivia that I would guess that nobody else but myself knows, but put a comment in the comments section if you're aware of this. And that is that if you are a student of finance, perhaps you've heard of the Black-Scholes formula for pricing options. It's a way to value options in financial markets. Well, there's a particular value that expresses the change in the value of the option relative to its underlying volatility, and that is called Vega. That is the name of it. Whereas all the other variants of calculating the change in option value have a Greek letter associated with them. Well, Vega is not a Greek letter. And one reason that I've heard for why the Black-Scholes creators used this term Vega was because one of them owned a Vega. And the Black-Scholes model was developed in the early 1970s, so it would make perfect sense. In any case, there's a super obscure bit of trivia for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks again for watching.